Welcome everyone. I am Leonard French, your favorite copyright attorney, here to talk about my very exciting morning, where we almost lost Ilsa and Niko for good. It's pretty terrible, and we're gonna get to it real quick here. I just need to do a short intro, let the stream start up. Welcome everyone. So yeah, see, that's why we do it, because I am Leonard French, your favorite copyright attorney. Where is it coming from?
Here
Stop.
to talk about my...
There we go. That's why we give it 3 minutes in the intro before we get started. Hello, good morning everyone. Good morning Rose. Good morning Negrey. Good morning 18X. Good morning Paul. Good morning Engine Fair. There's a lot of you here. Wow, wow, wow. We've got 158 of you here so far who want to hear this story. Oh, look, we have someone here with us already who has heard the tone of my voice. Hup. Who has had a great big adventure this morning, but we have recovered the Niko. Ilsa is downstairs resting. I'm sure that we will get both dogs much more screen time. Good boy. In just a moment here. Of course.
Hello, everyone.
Of course it's started. Go ahead.
I just want to say that I just got off the phone with Peaceful Kingdom.
Oh, good.
And so I have some information from them when
the time comes.
Yeah.
When the time comes. Okay.
Exactly.
So why are we here this morning? Well, one, let me first confess that I'm a giant idiot. I know better than to have basically like one thing that could go wrong, one point of failure that could allow this to happen. And basically that's the ultimate story today, is don't let there be like a single point of failure where the catastrophe can happen just because one thing broke. And that one thing for me today was my gate, my fence. I have a fence in the back and I have a gate. I will bring that up in a moment here as soon as Niko gets tired of being on my lap, because that will eventually happen. Hello, my love. Okay. Back to this. Also, let me not forget to turn on my patron panel. Not that that really has a whole lot to do with this, but it would be nice if that was on for all of the channel supporters. So, let me get these photos up, because I made kind of an album for you guys in Firefox here. So this is going backward. This is going forwards in time. So these are old pictures of, just to show you who got rescued this morning. In case you're not familiar with our dogs, this is Ilsa, my 7-year-old German Shepherd. And let me close push bullet, because that's going to keep happening. And the Golden Retriever is my 3-year-old Niko. He is a boy. And then down here, so this is my exit to my backyard. Oh, this is not going to work that way, is this? We'll just do it this way. Hang on, I have to play with Windows for a moment in order to get this all to fit. If I do it this way, this will work. There we go. So I have a long backyard that you might have seen. And this is the view from the opposite side, all the way down the backyard, from the outside looking in. And although it looks kind of bad, this actually held this together. I don't know, this rotting piece of wood had very little to do with it, so I had bypassed that and just had a very inexpensive lock holding this together. And so I came out this morning and more or less found that, and did not find my dogs. I mean, here's kind of another close-up of the broken gate latch. Now, at first you may be very sympathetic to me. Someone broke my gate and the dogs got out. No, I think these were separate incidents, but I really don't know for sure. I could be wrong about that. But from my perspective, let me tell you how it happened, and then we'll kind of do the hindsight thing. So I come out, and my neighbor from the back has noticed that the gate is open and is checking on my garage building, which has some of his things in it. He rents the garage from me. So he is checking to see if there's been a break-in, and I'm quickly noticing that I don't have my dogs, and going through various escalations of panic from, oh, my dogs aren't here. Oh, wait, my dogs aren't here. And this, this continues to escalate. So I'm literally in my pajamas. I had let my dogs out earlier in the morning, about 7:30 a.m., and I had gone back to sleep about 9:30 a.m. Is this taking my backyard for granted? Yes. I feel like I live in the lap of luxury that I can safely let my dogs out in my backyard and not worry about them. Well, I obviously took that for granted and should not have been so bold. Well, I woke up at about 9:30 and I found the dogs missing, ran back inside, grabbed my phone, called the local non-emergency number and reported the dogs missing. Much to my chagrin, the police want me to wait at my property to collect a report. They won't take a report over the phone, and so I couldn't start looking for my dogs right away. I feel like this is maybe a policy that should be adjusted. But the police made me wait, so I called my parents and I asked my parents, who are retired, if they would come help look for the dogs, and they immediately jumped in their car and started driving around Allentown. And they started asking everybody, and some people had said that they saw the gate was broken, but they didn't see the dogs. And we started to get some reports on what times people thought the gate had been broken. My one neighbor left his house at a certain time and had walked past the gate and noticed that it was fine at like 8:15 or something. Some of these reports started to conflict, so this starts to become a problem. Some people said that they had seen the gate broken, or seen the gate was not broken at 9 or 9:15, like I had just missed it, but that was actually turned out to be a little bit too late. So I called my parents. I wait for the police. The police officer comes. I bypass any attorney instinct to not let the police officer in, and I'm just like, come in, find my dogs. So I let him in the house. We walked through to the backyard. I didn't care, whether I don't keep contraband around or anything, but you're just not supposed to let yourself be in that situation. So I walked him to the backyard. He looked around. He had kind of this, concerned but like helpless look. I don't mean like in a bad way. I just mean like, how? Okay, well, what is a police officer supposed to do? I really just, and I said this to him. I said, I understand that there's really not a whole lot you can do from here. I just wanted to report this, give you, a description, in case anybody calls the non-emergent or emergency number and reports that they found my dog. So I go put on clothes because I this is a thing. Like, you don't realize this. When an emergency happens, you need to take a moment and put on clothes if you don't have clothes on. So I had to take 5 minutes in the middle of my panic when I should be searching for my dogs and go put on clothes. I think I had clothes on before the police officer arrived, but that still cut into the time. And went back and forth between the front door and the back door. The property's long. It's half a block long, so you got to check on the front door, make sure the police officer's not there. You got to go back and see if the neighbor is still there. So the neighbor has asked around and nobody has seen the dogs. And I call the local ASPCA, and they're closed, but somebody answers the phone and they say they haven't received a report of the dogs, but they'll keep an eye out and give me a call. And then my phone goes off with a text message that says, the found pet service. I have both dogs microchipped, but here's my second fatal flaw. I don't keep the dogs' collars on. So I admit that I was, neglected to check and service that lock back there and make sure that the dogs couldn't get out. And just, if the gate lock broke or opened or someone broke the fence, I didn't check. So that's one. And number two is I don't keep the dog's collars on. even when they're out in my yard. Of course, I have the collars on when they're walking, when we're playing in public or at the dog park or with my parents or something, but I don't keep the dog's collars on. So second thing was that anybody who found the dogs initially couldn't immediately identify an owner. So they had to go to a shelter. So that was a fatal flaw too. So let me be contrite there. But I'm getting to the part where we learn what really happened. The ASPCA said they didn't have her, so I started printing up lost dog flyers, started stapling them to local telephone poles. I figured I would do a plus sign, like a block north, a block south, a block east, a block west. At that point, I got the text message that one of the dogs had been found, that Niko had been found. At almost exactly the same time, I'm putting up flyers, and someone says, "Oh, sir, this man found your dog." And I'm like, "Oh, great, that's awesome." It turns out, same thing. He was the man who found Niko, and it was. I'm gonna read his name here because he deserves all the credit in the world. Sorry, this is complicated. Thank you to Joe Pallitta and John Perazzo from ADT Security. They were installing security in my neighborhood, I think at my neighbor's house, or someplace really nearby. They were parked in front of my house, and someone either here or on the way to here found Niko running around. So thank you to Joe and John, Joe Pallitta and John Perazzo from ADT Security. They found Niko and drove him up to their vet, Stangline Vet, in Northampton near me, and Stangline ran the chip and called me. Of course, now I'm in sort of a panic about Ilsa. We found one dog, but why did we find a dog separate? The two of them are inseparable. I really wouldn't have expected them to be separate, so how did they get separated? Here's where it starts to take a turn. So I'm putting up more lost dog posters. My staple gun jammed, so I walked back to the house, and I'm at the house trying to unjam the staple gun. I get the staple gun unjammed. I'm about to head back out, and my phone rings, and I see Peaceable Kingdom. I know what Peaceable Kingdom is. It's an animal shelter, so I'm hoping to God that's my dog. It turns out it is. They found Ilsa, and she's fine. And they asked me to bring some proof of ownership. They gave me a couple different ways that they felt I could prove ownership, some recent pictures, and bring her collar, bring some vet paperwork and stuff. And it turned out that her collar had all the tags on it from the vet, so that was enough for them. And they reunited me with Ilsa. I made a small donation, and then they told me the rest of the story. And here's where I'm going to try not to cry, so bear with me for a moment.
I've already lost it.
Yeah. So it turns out that someone had found Ilsa. Now, I don't know all the details, and I'll explain that too, why I didn't ask for more details. But it appears that someone found Ilsa. I don't know whether that person found her in my backyard or found her roaming around the streets. I'm going to guess that since the great gate was broken, the dogs got out, that they found her roaming around the streets. But I also don't know 100% for sure if they broke the gate or if the gate was broken before. There's also a very slim chance, let me show you in my photo here. This is not a terribly good photo, but this was the one from before. I'm not referring to here, but look at down here. There's a bunch of leaves and trash and stuff, and this is ever so slightly downhill, and we've had a whole lot of rains recently, and underneath all these leaves and everything down here, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but if all those leaves down here, underneath all that is dirt that is slowly sliding its way, it's possible it put some pressure on the gate and over time it broke it, or put some pressure on the gate and a person helped break it. But either way, I don't know whether the people stole the dog out of the backyard or what, but the Peaceable Kingdom told me, and I think Heather has some more information, but they told me that a person had come looking for a leash for Ilsa. They intended to keep Ilsa. the Peaceable Kingdom asked, "Oh, well, how did you find the dog? Why doesn't she have a collar and a leash already?" And the person's answer initially was, "Oh, well, we found this dog just now." And then a few minutes later, it was, "We found the dog 3 days ago. We already posted on social media. Nobody came forward, so we're going to keep the dog." Somebody at Peaceable Kingdom had the wherewithal to grab a leash, and instead of giving these people a leash, to slip the leash on Ilsa and hold on to her. And when Peaceable Kingdom told the people that they would not be giving Ilsa back to them and they'd be keeping Ilsa at Peaceable Kingdom, there was apparently a slight scuffle. I don't know how physical it got. Nobody seemed to be in too much worse for the wear, but there was apparently an attempt to hold on to Ilsa and not let Peaceable Kingdom take her. And so we came that close. I came that close to losing my Ilsa to thieves who would have sold her for a minimum amount of money. Peaceable Kingdom said one of the reasons they thought that Ilsa was not their dog was because they had another dog with them. They had a white and gray pit bull with them, and the other dog was not behaving well. They did not look like the same family had raised both dogs. You can tell these things from the psychology of the dogs. Heather, you want to jump in here? Do you have more to add?
So we've gotten permission to name the volunteers. So Tara was one of the volunteers, and she was, so her spidey sense is going off that the two dogs aren't acting the same, that the person was sort of asking for a free leash from them. That sort of also, she was thinking, okay, well, if you've had this dog for 3 days, why are you asking for a free leash from a shelter? And have you not had this dog scanned? There was another volunteer, Ricky, and I believe Ricky might have been, actually, I'm not sure which volunteer put the leash on, but really good instincts of the volunteers to say, these people don't look like dog lovers. They don't look like they have the best intentions.
Yeah.
And just trusting that gut instinct and following through and saying, no, let's scan for a chip. Let's do a little bit more investigation before we let these people take this animal home. And, Tara, I know, has been a long-time volunteer with them and obviously has great instincts with animals and great instincts with people. So thank you so much.
Yeah. I'm doing my best to keep my emotions in check. So that happened.
It's a miracle, isn't it?
It's basically a miracle, yeah. Tara made sure to drive it home that people do steal dogs, that they hear about it regularly, that this was the scenario where someone would have stolen my dog, driven a county over, and sold my dog for $100, and then went and bought some drugs. And would have had next to zero chance that we would have gotten the dog back. Basically, we got extremely lucky that they stopped at Peaceable Kingdom to get a leash for the dog. Why? The fact that they didn't have a car to go do that, they didn't have a leash, that they didn't have the means to take advantage of the opportunity to steal the dog, that was mere chance. It's going to take me a little while to calm down from this one.
So thankful for her instincts. There was one thing that they asked me to mention, which will be a nice segue into how you want to say thank you. But if anybody else is feeling as thankful as we are that these people intervened and that they trusted their instincts, they do have a fundraiser this Friday in Allentown at the Brew Works. It's called... Let me open this up. It's called Brews to the Rescue, Friday from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And it is their biggest fundraiser of the year. And I'm sure I'll be able to post
Well, we
a link
can't
to their
not
website.
go to that now. I mean,
Yes.
like
Okay,
we're
yes.
obligated to go to that now. Like, I don't care who you are. They have helped us out, and we're going to help them out. We're also doing. I've also immediately started our own fundraiser. You know, in the heat of the moment, let's take advantage of the energy. And so, if you guys would like to donate, these funds go directly to Peaceable Kingdom. They don't even have to go through me. That's really cool. Peaceable Kingdom was already in GoFundMe's list. So these donations go directly to Peaceable Kingdom. Nope, I've just reloaded chat. Let's reload this. We're already up to $335. I'm very, very thankful and proud of you all. I wrote just a little thank you here. I'm going to edit this because I also want to include Joe and John. I can't... Let's also be clear that Niko was in the same situation, and by chance, by the grace of God, depending upon your belief system, the good people from ADT Security found him, and so there was no bad story about how someone tried to steal Niko. And that's it. It was by the grace of God or by chance, you know... So, thank you. So yeah, that was a heck of a brush with that situation today. Hey, Ilsa, everybody wants to see you. Get up here. I have dog treats. Ilsa.
And just to give a little bit more information for Peaceable Kingdom, so they are a no-kill shelter, and they provide adoptions, and they are always looking for donations. So there's a couple ways you can donate directly, obviously through our GoFundMe, so that you can. So that when Leonard sort of gives them the money, you can say, look at all of the people who have found out about your organization because of the good that you do.
They're going to get the money automatically. It's like
they do? Okay.
Yeah, they get it automatically.
Perfect.
It doesn't even have to go through us. I don't have to give them a check. Nothing. It's all it's really cool. There was a line for, are you donating to a charity? Well, you can select the charity and the money goes directly to them.
Awesome. They also
carry you up the stairs, honey.
A donation to our GoFundMe is the same as a donation to them.
Yeah.
We just want to keep
Good
track of,
girl. Can you come hop? Can you come hop?
Yeah.
Can you come hop here and everybody can say hi to the Ilsa that we rescued?
You can also go onto Amazon. So they have a wish list on Amazon if you wanted to buy something and send it to them. So they have a couple ways to donate. And obviously this Friday they're going to be having another fundraiser if you're in the Allentown area.
Yes, fundraiser in the Allentown area. Go ahead.
Oh, mostly that's sort of those are the different ways to donate. So sending something, especially through Amazon, directly or through the GoFundMe that you've set up.
So what have we learned? That's also a good thing to go over, right? One, I shouldn't let my dogs in the backyard all by themselves for really more than a few minutes at a time. If I want to let them out like that, I should go with them. That'll make this summer easier, but I've got to figure it out for next winter because I hate going outside in the cold. It's just so much easier to let them out. It's one thing if I'm letting them out and letting them, bringing them right back in, and they're basically monitored while they're out there. It's another thing when I'm letting them out there for a few hours while I go back to sleep, and so that's not a good thing. That's a opportunity for someone. So that's not going to happen anymore. Two, I don't even use that gate, so why is there even a gate? So I'm going to just board that up, and it's not even going to open anymore. I will eventually fix it into a robust gate, but that's going to go probably on the back burner till I actually need a gate. I'll think about the safety implications. I don't think there are any safety implications for how big the backyard is. I mean, we're not talking about huge, but it's long enough that there's really no need for a gate there.
Yeah, if your house explodes, your backyard's big enough that you can get far enough.
Yeah, I'm not like trapped in the exploding house by the backyard, by the gate that's 150 feet away. Or 100 feet away. I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to measure distances in my head.
It's literally like half a football field. It's really long.
Yeah. So we're gonna board up the gate. I already have security cameras back there, but we've had some storms, and it turns out some of these cheap consumer security cameras are not as waterproof as they say they are, and I don't think any of them are working. I think there's 2 back there, and both of them are long dead. I bought a new security system, I bought a new security camera system, and it's a 4K 12 cam. Well, it's a 16 camera recorder, and it came with 12 cameras, and it's all gigabit Ethernet, and it's all network cameras. So that I have plans to put in as well, and we're going to obviously put 1 or 2 cameras maybe in the backyard. I might even install like a trail camera, one of those that takes pictures when there's motion and then either uploads it via Wi-Fi or saves it to an SD card or something in a big tough enclosure so that I can see who comes into the back. And then, basically I'm not going to be leaving the dogs alone now that I know that this can happen this easily.
Hello, AVE. Welcome to our chat. He asks whether this is what happens when you live near people.
Yeah, AVE, I think that's what's happening. I live near people. My city is at least a couple 100,000. I think the city itself is 185, and then the greater area is a couple 100,000. I like the camouflage of living in the area that I do. It's not a wealthy area, and I don't really live in a flashy way. And not that I really have the money to live in a flashy way either, but even if I did, I'm the type that would buy drones and dog toys and cameras and 3D printers and maybe a laser cutter or CNC mill coming up here in the future. And I would then think about maybe fixing something on my house somewhere along the way there. But yeah, that's the kind of person I am. So to recap, in case some of you are just getting here, I managed to lose my dogs this morning. Someone either broke the gate this morning or broke the gate a while ago. Here are some pictures. Nope, that's the wrong. Hang on, I have to go to Firefox and switch it over. This was the gate. This is unbecoming of Leonard French. Like, I should know better than to have a gate with this little security on it. Like seriously, I follow the lockpicking lawyer. Believe it or not, I'm a certified locksmith, not a practicing locksmith, but I should know better. I'm ashamed of myself for not having better security and taking better care of my fence. I took a lot of things for granted, and this morning it blew up in my face. So, partially we're here because I'm a moron. I'm an idiot with regard to that stuff, or at least that's what I'd call somebody who had such lax level of security as I did this morning. AVE's got a deal for me on a CNC mill, I bet, and a bridge in Manhattan.
You're Leonard Mother French. You should have over-engineered your gate years ago.
Yeah, right? Honestly, I mean, you guys who are creators out there, you know what I'm talking about. Everything back here just looks the way it does. If I turn the camera around and showed you everything else, it's wires and mess everywhere. In fact, most of that back there is just organized mess, and everything else is unorganized mess. So,
And I wanted to just mention that to everyone in the chat and to everyone who has already donated to the GoFundMe, you guys are amazing. We're already halfway the goal. So thank you. I'm feeling the love for Ilsa. I'm feeling the love.
Nice.
It's amazing.
Nice. Well, hopefully we'll be able to do some good things to help Peaceable Kingdom out here. And then I'll go and represent our efforts on Friday at their actual fundraiser where... Okay, help me out here. It would be rude to not donate more money on Friday, right? Like, I'm just being realistic here. If I go to another fundraiser for Peaceable Kingdom on Friday, which is not related to this fundraiser, I'm supposed to donate some more money. So that's okay. We'll do that. They obviously deserve it. How do I say this next part? This is I don't want to minimize how much I care for my dogs, but I also don't think, like, how would I have been able to go on with life? Like, I'm supposed to visit Kaylee in a week and a half. How am I supposed to go on a trip to see Kaylee and all that while my dogs are missing? I couldn't. I could not reconcile those two things in my mind either. And I basically, that was where I had to stop myself, because if I thought any farther than that, I was going to really hit panic. And you know what the cover of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy says. Don't panic. That is rule number 1 of life in this universe, people. Don't panic. Even if it's not going to be okay, it's going to be as okay as it can be if you don't panic. And panic is probably going to make it worse, or at least increase the chances of making it worse. So then how could we go full out? Like, if I had a budget, which I don't, but if I had a budget, what could we really do? Like, I wanted to ask you some questions. Like, are there, because I think there are, but I don't know how they work. Are there GPS tracker collars that report the dog's position via cell phone and don't cost an arm and a leg? I'm going to guess they're like $600 and, $60 a year or something. And then they have to be charged and all that. That's probably overkill for trying to keep track of my dogs in the backyard. And then what prevents a person from just taking that off anyway, right? So are there... I don't think there's any other method of tracking an animal in the wilderness actively. We already have the microchip. So besides keeping my collars on the dogs and not leaving the dogs in the backyard unattended, and maybe doing a daily round of my backyard to make sure that nothing is broken at least once a day, that can't hurt. I pretty much do that already, but it's not 7:30 in the morning when it's cold outside. It's when I go to play with the dogs in the middle of the day. I could build something. We could engineer a tracker. You could geofence it. How about that? Geofence it, that you make a Wi-Fi region and you set it to some really sensitive or high decibel ratio, and if the dog leaves the yard, by 5 dB or something, then the alarm goes off. But that's reactive though. Like, now I'm hearing an alarm, I'm going, oh, the backyard alarm is going off, I should throw on shoes and run out, and the dog's gone by that point. So I don't know, I feel like maybe cameras. I could put cameras on the outside of that fence as well. I do own that garage that's back there, which is why there's a gate, because it's a 1.5 car garage, and instead of 2 car garage, it's a 1.5, and then there's a gate, because that was the smart way to build something for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it was built 100 years ago. It probably was.
Are there GPS tracked chips for dogs?
Well, I don't know where the GPS tracker chip for dogs would get its power. I would think it would need to be on a collar.
BRB charging my dog.
Yeah, you got to go plug my dog in so that their internal GPS track.
Yeah, we are getting some links from people for GPS trackers that you can put on collars and such. So
okay, Cool. Yeah, new fence. I think a new fence is not out of the running. I think a new fence is a good idea.
A nice tall one as well.
And maybe put some kind of audible alarm on the fence that when the gate is I know I said before I'm going to seal up the gate. This is like we're thinking beyond that. Like so that assuming the gate's still there, that you would put some kind of massive alarm on the or massive alarm that sounds when the gate is opened.
Yeah, I think the geo thing, what do we call it? The geo fence is a really good idea. All you need is like 4 units and an Ethernet cable, and you can do that.
Do I do an airlock fence? That's what I'm thinking. Actually, put a second gate in, so you have to go through 2 gates to get in or out.
And then your entire house would be that way.
My front door is that way, my back door is that way, and then my gate would be that way. That way you'd have to get through both of them, or over both of them, or break both of them. Meanwhile, an alarm is going off on either one. If you've opened either one, an alarm goes off. I like to think practically about security. A lot of my security has to do with making it more difficult to enter and making it take longer and making it make more noise. I less depend. I'm the Christopher Nolan of security. I less depend on electronic stuff. I don't necessarily count on a wired alarm that calls the police so much as I count on no one wanting to break in because they can't find an easy target. They can't find a cheap and easy point of entry. Every point of entry has some downside to it. You've got to go, like in front of one of my windows is a desk. You've got to go through this big, huge desk to get through. Another one of my windows has like, there's a door and then an outside door and then an inside door and there's a screen and then there's a piece of exercise equipment. And all of that then is next to a glass break sensor. And if it senses the glass, it calls the police. So, if someone wants to get into my house, they're going to have to make a lot of noise. And if I'm here, then they're going to face an armed Leonard. I'm more concerned about, if I want to leave my dogs out in the backyard, which is apparently something that I really shouldn't be doing.
I think you should be able to without having to worry about them being stolen.
Yeah, I'd like to be able to without worrying about them being stolen, but I'm obviously not going to be doing that anytime soon. I'll be worried sick if they're out there and I don't know where they are.
I feel you, but I think everybody in the chat will agree with me that it shouldn't be your fault for wanting to leave your dogs outside. They enjoy being outside. It's a good place for them.
Yeah.
It's not, we don't blame you for leaving your dogs outside.
Yeah. Well, then we're just going to have to implement some security before I let them go unattended. I'll probably be okay with being in the kitchen while they are playing in the backyard, but while they are unattended for any long period of time, I wouldn't do that until I have security cameras and probably my 2 gates in an airlock configuration, and probably have updated the fence, because I don't know, some of you guys have watched the video that I make of the dogs. There's also that fence that runs between my yard and the other neighbor, where it's not a fence. It's basically just like a crushed chicken wire fence from 20-30 years ago that all just needs to be replaced with a nice chain link fence. I don't even think it's that terribly expensive. I just have to do it and drive the piles and all that. And then I think we can safely let the dogs in the backyard again. Or another opportunity might be that I don't let them run the whole yard. Maybe I stop them, and instead of making the airlock 2 doors all the way down at the other end, maybe it's 1 door down at the other end and another gate partially I don't know. I'll think about that. Metal gate would be possible. That would definitely be possible.
Automated.
QA Library is asking if you've called the police to say that the dogs have been located.
Yes, we called the police to say that the dogs have been located, and they asked us to call the police desk, and we called the police desk and reported it there as well. Thank you very much. So far, we're up to $745 of the $1,000 goal. That's awesome. You guys rock. Go ahead.
Oh, there's another way that you can donate that Whiskers' cat brought up earlier. And that's if you are on the American Amazon site, that there's smile.amazon.com. And so you basically select your charity. And when you shop and do your regular Amazon ordering, that a small percentage of what you order gets donated to a charity. So there's that. You can also order, like, go to the smile.amazon.com and order from their wish list through that. So it's almost like donating twice.
So I wanted to address a couple questions that I've seen that I've intentionally been avoiding. Why haven't I asked for a greater description of the people who brought Ilsa to Peaceable Kingdom? And why haven't I tried to have those people arrested? Why haven't I pursued that at all? And I'm perfectly okay with Peaceable Kingdom providing any information that they want to, that they feel is appropriate. I'm assuming that they would have done that already if they felt that that was appropriate. Instead, I think that this is a situation that's kind of on the line. I think someone found a dog and was going to take advantage of the opportunity to keep a nice dog. She's obviously a very nice dog. And that this is somewhere like a borderline case. I mean, maybe you could accuse those people of stealing the dog, but then what evidence do you have to bring those charges and support them? And do you really know that those are the people who stole the dog, or were they just people who just might not be the, you know, the kind of people who would turn in a dog in the hopes of returning it to its owner, but rather they're the kind of people who would try and sell a dog or keep a dog for their own benefit. I don't know, though, that that's exactly the place where you would be able to charge, prosecute, maintain, and successfully convict of a crime. And then there's a second half to this, and I want to be very clear about the careful language that I'm using. It would not be in my best interest to find out who those people are. And I'll leave it at that, because I don't think it would be appropriate to say anything on the record further. I would react poorly if... I'm afraid that I would react poorly if I found out who had tried to take my dog.
Yes. Also, though we may consider our dogs to be children, unfortunately, the law doesn't see it.
Correct. I cannot defend my bad actions by saying that they tried to take my dog. I'm not even sure that you can use lethal force to defend a dog napping. Even if it's your own dog. I would, though. If someone tried to kidnap my dog from me by force, I would use lethal force in response. And I'm concerned that a person using lethal force in response to a dog napping or less, not an active dog napping, but, found the dog later and now they're trying to... it wouldn't be legal to use lethal force. That wouldn't be reasonable. And I'm not saying that I would use lethal force. I'm just saying that I would react poorly.
And the shelter has said that they're willing to provide the security cam footage to the police if that's necessary, and so they would fully cooperate.
Okay.
If that's something that the police are interested in. So they don't want dog nappers around either. I think that they're very protective, and if there's a lost dog, it's about getting the dog back to their family.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know, since this happened so close to home, how much I want to stir up things around my own house. So I'm not afraid. It's quite the opposite. I myself don't want to give me any reason to overreact or otherwise obsess about the identity of the people who tried to take or keep Ilsa. If I don't have that information, then I can't obsess about it. I can't be sitting here seething or otherwise overreacting to it.
And I can totally understand that because for me, it's hypothetical. And so I will say that, like, if I was there watching my dogs being stolen and I had the power to stop it, I would become violent. Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. That I can say without equivocation. And as I said before, if you try to take my dogs, you know, you're not going to jail. I'm going to jail. And I do mean that hyperbolically. I don't mean that I'm going to jump to lethal force for, you know, minor transgressions or something like that. And this is something in between that. This is something where I wouldn't want to know, I wouldn't want the opportunity. I wouldn't want to be confronted with that person. I wouldn't want to have them say the wrong thing and make me feel things that I don't want to feel. I have my dogs, life can move on, and if I spend less time on that and more time with my dogs, that's the way life should be spent.
I want to say that there's a Mr. Rogers quote, but I might be misattributing that. That whenever there is something really bad that happens, or an emergency, or a trauma or something, you, as much as you see the pain, you can always look around and see who are the people that are helping, and who are the people that are aiding. And so, as much as we can focus on the people that tried to take Ilsa, we can also focus on the people who were good, who worked hard to reunite her, you know, took some risks, trusted their gut, and we now have a happy ending because they took action.
Yeah. So the only reason that we I mean, I don't know how you, what's the benefit? Let's just walk this through, because in the law we often think about, especially when we're prosecuting someone, and you know, right now no one's being prosecuted, but we're talking about what would happen if we could catch these people. What's the benefit? Does it really deter them from stealing a dog again, or trying to not turn in a dog? I don't know what this was, like which kind of crime that was. It's obviously some kind of theft by conversion or straight up theft, depending upon whether they took her out of the yard or not. Yeah, actually, I kind of would like to know. Honestly, I wish there was security footage from back there. I'd like to know if someone opened my gate and took the dogs, or whether the dogs, because the dogs don't normally hang out by that gate. It's never opened for them. I've never even gone through that gate while the dogs have been alive in 7 years. So if someone opened or broke that gate, the dogs would come running over to investigate, and they'd be all like waggy tails and happy and everything, and someone would go, "Oh, come with me." And then that would be why Niko would be running around by himself, because they only grabbed one dog. It very well could have been someone tried to take the dog out of the backyard. I really don't have any, I'm not saying that I want it to be that. I'm saying that I don't have any evidence or statistical information to rule that possibility out. Ilsa, you want to come say hi again? You want a treat? You want a treat? I know you had a traumatic morning. I have another camera set up, but I don't have enough light in here. But let me try. Here, if I turn up the light and then give you Ilsa's face. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Ilsa, hop. Well, that's Niko. Off. Ilsa, hop. Hop. You can do it. Go girl. Go girl. Either they didn't want Niko, or they aren't the ones that found both dogs. They only found one dog. Niko, hop.
My theory is that they were on foot and they already had a dog with them and they couldn't control two dogs.
Hop. Yeah, that they said that Tara said that they arrived at the shelter with a shoelace around Ilsa's neck. I think it was a shoelace. Oh, okay. So that's been a lot. Do we have anything else we'd like to talk about? I don't need to keep our good viewers here on stream while I de-stress. No. Is that a silent no from my staff?
I'm almost done with my work. Do you want to play some video games?
Yes. Meanwhile, we also have to find out if we have an appearance at 4:30. I don't think we do, but I don't think anyone's called Chambers yet. So let's do that too. That would have been fun, having to go to a court hearing right in the middle of all of this. Your Honor, I'm sorry, I'm very distracted. Some of my dogs are missing since this morning, and I'm just an emotional mess. So please bear with me, Your Honor.
I think you could probably make a very quick motion to stay on those grounds. I think the judge would probably allow.
Well, fortunately, I am a very good attorney, and we settled the case before the court appearance was necessary. So, there's some Niko grunts for you. So thank you all for joining me. Thank you for donating $765 to Peaceable Kingdom. It has been a traumatic morning. I'm sure that my dogs didn't find it as traumatic. Okay, fine. You don't have to get up.
For them, it was an adventure. For those asking how long the GoFundMe is going to be open for, it's because it's going directly to the charity. There's no skin off our back for leaving it open. So,
yeah, we'll leave it open for a while. I'll close it when there haven't been any donations for a month or whatever. And we'll continue to thank them from time to time because honestly, guys, I mean, I really came. This was worse than a brush with death. Could you imagine living your life knowing that your dogs were gone, and you didn't know what happened to them, whether they were being used as bait dogs or whether they were being abused by owners who didn't care enough to take care of a dog and get one the proper way, or whether they were otherwise being neglected, starved, or abused. This was worse than a brush with death. I would, if I had discovered one of the dogs dead, that would not be as bad as if a dog was actually kidnapped and sold. So I'm very sorry for my part in this, and I will take all of the steps. I will eat crow while the crow is young and tender, because the people who benefit from my correcting my mistakes are my pups. It's not just me, it's my pups. So I got to make sure that I don't do the things that led to this morning happening in the first place. Oh, yes, let me say one more time, thank you very much to Joe Pallitta and John Perazzo from ADT Security. No, it is not lost on me that I've just spoken a lot about improving security. Yes, I am talking to Joe and John about upgrading my security system here, as this one does need to have. I want to have fire, and I would like to have a secondary system for contacting emergency services. Currently, I have one system, which I'm not going to tell you what it is, but if, say, we lost enough electricity, cable, telephone, internet, that sort of thing, eventually you lose one of the things that the cable that the system's connected to. So I want to have a redundant one. I'd like to have a cell phone connection on a backup battery so that in the event of a fire with power loss, there would still be a call to emergency services. That would be preferred. So yes, thank you to Joe and John from ADT Security. Thank you to Tara, and I think there was one or two other people from Peaceable Kingdom for saving my dogs from my mistake and from a thief. These dogs who love to jump in the water, love to go for a swim. Remember, you guys helped repair Ilsa's legs. Both legs were in need of surgery last year, and the total cost was about $8,500, and you guys raised $2,000, a little over $2,000. We donated $500 to Forgotten Felines and Fidos, who was one of our other favorite animal shelters. We have another favorite animal shelter now for donations and such. And thank you very much for your donations to Peaceable Kingdom, who is now up to $835. Yes, Stephen Cole, a couple security cameras around the house. I bought a system with 12, and it has capability of going to 16, and it's 4K and everything. A friend of mine installs them, and he had something on surplus. He ordered something. Yeah, Alan Powell, the lock and all that stuff for the... I really just have to replace that gate. For now, it's going to get boarded up. We don't use that gate anyway. And the dogs won't be left in the backyard. So the dogs are safe for now. I will not be making any of the mistakes that led to this morning's events. Although, let's be clear, people found the dogs. Good people returned the dogs. Someone tried to not return the dog. And, oh, man, I just could you imagine if that person had a leash? We had never seen Ilsa again. That's it. That's what was between us and losing Ilsa, was that person didn't have a leash. On that note, I am still a little beside myself, so I'm still going to be taking the better part of the afternoon to collect myself emotionally. I'll probably take another 2 or 3 showers and cuddle up with my dogs for a nap or something. Maybe go for a walk and make sure the entire neighborhood knows the dogs belong to us. Not that that really changes anything. Yeah, at least it wasn't PETA. Well, as much as it is true that PETA puts animals down, they think that they're doing it for the right reasons. I'm not disputing that. I think that it's the wrong reasons, but I disagree with most of what PETA says and does. But I think they think they're doing the right thing. I don't think they would have put anybody's dogs down that quickly. I think they would be in a big deal of trouble if they did that. It has happened. Someone did destroy a chip. Did we read about this? Was this something we went over a long time ago in the early days of the channel? There was a veterinarian. Oh, yeah, you know what? I don't think it was. I think this was a story that I heard, but there was a veterinarian who was accused of just destroying a chip and selling a dog. And it was one of those where the dog was lost, and if the dog had been unclaimed, yes, you could change the chip information and sell the dog, but the dog had been lost like that day. You can't do that. Anyway, so for anyone tuning in just now, I'm about to end the stream, but we'll go over it again. These are my puppies. This is Ilsa, the German Shepherd, and Niko, the Golden Retriever. This morning I found my gate broken open. I don't know whether the gate broken open part happened as part of this incident or not. But then the puppies got out, and apparently someone either took Ilsa at that time or took Ilsa off the street later. And instead of returning her to the animal shelter, they more or less coincidentally went to the animal shelter with her to get a leash to keep her. Meanwhile, Niko was found by a very good person, or pair of good people, Joe Pallitta and John Perazzo from ADT Security, who took her to a vet, a local vet, who then read his chip and called me. But it was Ilsa that had a brush with dog napping. Someone walked her from my house all the way to our most local vet, which is Peaceable Kingdom, at least most local that I know of, and asked for a leash because they wanted to keep her. And the good people at Peaceable Kingdom saw that the dog was not behaving like it was their dog, slipped a leash over her neck, and then held on to her instead of letting these people have her. And I'm very grateful to that. And so we're running a little bit of a fundraiser. So if you would like to, you can donate to Peaceable Kingdom at this link that I'm putting in. Oh, that Tactical has already put in the chat, but I just put in the chat again. We have raised nearly $1,000 for them in just an hour live stream here. This is awesome. You guys are great. You guys know the puppies. They're awesome. We love them so much. I am a lot less emotional now. Thank you for letting me do this. These live streams, believe it or not, are cathartic for me.
Oh, and subscribe to Such Dog.
You can subscribe to these dogs at Such Dogs. I don't actually have a link to the channel. Could somebody post a link to the channel?
I don't have one, but
So I have a channel that I post dog video to. It's not terribly active, but that's mostly been because Ilsa's not been terribly active, healing from her surgery. So now that the dogs are not only healed, but now not dog-napped anymore, at least Ilsa, we'll be definitely posting more Such Dogs video. Why do we call it Such Dogs? Well, there are good dogs, and there are friendly dogs, and there are lovable dogs, and there are cuddly dogs, and there are brave dogs, and there are courageous dogs, and these are Such Dogs. So that is our live stream. And I am going to take this live stream out before much longer. Hup. But, you know, it's just so much easier to cuddle with them and keep talking and keep trying to raise money. Let's see. That's stable at 835. You know what? Let me say goodbye to everyone, and we'll call it a stream. Anyone have any last thoughts? No, Ilsa's injuries would have had the opposite effect. Ilsa's surgeries would have meant someone cares deeply for this dog, in my humble opinion. That someone had spent $8,500 getting her legs repaired so she could be a happy girl again. You can't see her injuries, but you can see that her gait has been modified. You can see that she's been shaved in the back, and you could see the surgical scars if you know what to look for. And this is a veterinary clinic, so I mean, they know what to look for.
Yeah, I think they would notice that she's a cyborg, and wow, those are some expensive procedures that have been done on this dog.
Yeah. Oh, and Ilsa had parvo when she was a young lady, when she was a young puppy. You're supposed to get the dogs vaccinated for parvonucleosis or whatever, which is basically canine dysentery, and it's a killer. It kills the dogs because the loss of all the bodily fluids and nutrition and all that is too much for a young dog to take. If they get through it, great, but they don't. It's like a 90% fatality rate or mortality rate. Ilsa had supposedly been vaccinated by her breeder, and I was working on getting her booster vaccination when she was diagnosed with parvo. We were late by a week or two on the second parvo vaccination, but I'm really not convinced that being a tiny bit week or two late on the parvo vaccination was the reason why she got parvo. But obviously in there she got it, so that was also a very expensive thing, and she could have died. So this is a very lucky dog that we care about very, very much. And you know, don't let me skim over my responsibility in today and any previous things that have happened with her. Like, I make mistakes too occasionally. I just try to correct them as fast as possible and try not to make them in the first place whenever I can.
But she's home, and the story has a happy ending.
Story has a happy ending, and we're not going to let the story have any future stories have any bad endings as much as possible. So thank you all for joining me. Thank you for donating to Peaceable Kingdom Saved Ilsa here at the link in the chat and at the link in the description below. I am Leonard French, your favorite copyright attorney, and I'm going to go probably have a glass of wine at some point here after I find out that I don't have a court appearance this afternoon. All right. Love you all. Thank you for joining me. Bye. All right, one more time. Up. Come on. Up. One more time. All right. All right, bye.